Welcome to Married AF. We are your hosts, Brooke and Randal Fowler. On this show, we discuss the topics that really matter.
Like big veiny cocks and our favorite TV shows.
So pull up a chair at our kitchen table and hang out.
While I bulldog my nuts. Hey, everybody.
What up?
I have absolutely no idea what episode number this is.
Oh my.
Nor does it matter because
I think because this is, we're recording these intros, I think, out of order on when we're going to post them. So we're not going to say the episode number.
So it's none of your
You'll
business.
just see it when you listen to it. It'll probably, it may be episode 69.
Oh, well, it may be. Who knows?
Yeah, because I think if we do Miller's next, nope, it'll be 70 probably because we'll do whatever. Miller's will be 69,
Yeah,
which is awesome.
This is Tom.
Yes, exactly. So we talked to Tom, and I was like flipping back through my notebook to try and find the date. It looks like it was it the 6th? January 6th?
Sounds good.
Because the next one, I think it was around the beginning of January. It was a while ago, guys. Sorry, shit's been crazy.
Well, and you've heard him on the episode with Rachel. We had him on with Rachel.
Was on the episode, and that was a great time. And this one was a good time. It was just me and Randal and Tom, no Rachel, talking about being step parents and navigating through all that. And we answered some questions. And it was a good time. It was nice to talk to Dr. McFeeley, or Mr. McFeeley.
Yeah, Mr.
Dr. McFeeley.
Yeah. No, Tom was great. I love Tom. He's a funny, smart guy. Yeah. And I like this episode a lot, so I'm looking forward to it being posted while we are at Disney World.
Yes, that's right. When this comes out, we're going to be in the happiest place on earth, y'all. So be jealous.
Yep. And enjoy this very sexual episode.
Alrighty.
The way it happens isn't great, so.
No, and if you're a Jets fan, there's nothing you could see that would surprise you.
No, that is the way the Jets would lose. So, so I don't have any sympathy for any other fans in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, Jets fans have to deal with the butt fumble, babe.
Yeah.
Stop with the butt fumble. Stop, please stop with the butt fumble. I get it. I know.
I don't know. I don't know if I know exactly what that is. But you don't have to explain it.
Google it and you'll see it. And it's
That's
horrible.
Fine. It's fine. I feel you. I mean, I've been, the Saints are good right now, but I've been a Saints fan forever.
Yeah,
and they used to be hot garbage, but
for years.
Yeah. They're good. They're good. I think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this year, I really, that would be amazing. And it's in Atlanta, which doesn't mean that we would go because the tickets are $1 million.
You should go.
Oh my God!
Absolutely. You should get one of your sponsors to pony up some tickets.
I know, right?
I like watching them at home. I know it sounds weird, but you got the best seat in the house at home.
It's true.
Clean bathrooms.
It's very true. Football's terrible in person.
Yeah, I've always said that. It's cool to if you never have to get the experience and go to all these stadiums. That would be cool once.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
Once I get, so next year you got to get in our fantasy league. I didn't know you played
you fantasy league.
Yeah, our winner, we get them a WWE style custom belt made every year, and
nice.
We used to both be good, and then the last few years we've sucked the big dick.
Uh-oh.
I didn't even pay attention.
Do you know why, or?
No, I think we're bad drafters. I wouldn't say that. We're bad on the wire. My brother is he can have the worst draft on earth, but he'll pick up it's playing the wire right.
I did that for a few years, too.
I love to draft, and I don't. For me, football's better than baseball because baseball's every single day for 6 months, and by September I want to slit my wrists.
Yeah.
But football's a little easier, but still I don't even pay attention as much as I should.
Yeah.
I'm in. If you have a spot, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for people. I've got baseball and football leagues, and so if you're looking for another league, let me know.
Well, I want to go ahead and we can well, I don't even think we introduced Tom yet. This is, of course, Tom McFeeley. She's a beautiful lady.
Yeah,
absolutely.
She can tell.
As you can tell from her voice.
He's the other half of the, I'll say like Randall does, the all-powerful
Yes.
Rachel Miller.
Yes.
Who I still want to convince her to change her last name to McFeeley because fucking Dr. McFeeley
is a marketing.
I know. It sounds like either a bad movie character or like a rock star or something.
Yeah.
Or, as I tell her all the time, a sex therapist.
Right. Exactly.
Dude.
But it would be like sex therapist with a local cable show.
Right.
It would be good.
100%.
Wow.
It's Dr. McFeeley. It's just
destiny.
awful.
Yeah, and we
forget it, but it's awful.
we do have to mention the powerful Rachel Miller 2018 Contributor of the Year.
Yep.
Absolutely. We got that in the mail just yesterday.
Oh, awesome.
Yay.
Great.
Yeah, it's proudly on display actually right now on our coffee table.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful.
For everyone to see.
Well, so
Absolutely.
some of the listeners will remember from the very first time we had Rachel on, and we were talking about step parenting, and we kind of were in the discussion. We were like, we need to do an episode about that.
Was that one of the? Was that
It was, I think it was the very first
Wow.
one because we were talking about Tom and you, being step parents, and just how much appreciation I've always had for a step parent. But then when me and you got together and seeing it, I don't know how it
With your
feels
child.
because I'm not you. Yes, exactly. But getting to see it and how it works, I could understand two things. One, how hard it could be for some people, of doing that. And then number two, of how awesome it is to see and watch that relationship grow. So the way I looked at it was I would collect some questions. We've gotten some, we've got 3 or 4 from listeners, and then some that I just thought I wanted to know about that, me and you probably have never discussed. And,
Okay.
these questions don't have to be, doesn't mean that they're related to any of our specific situations, but just about being a step parent in general, because I know a lot of people that are step parents that have struggled with the, just how hard that is. I can't offer anything on it, so I'm the question asker. You guys can be the contributors.
But you've been an observer.
Sure.
And that, that means a lot to people who are step parents and people who really, for me, I didn't formally become a step parent for several years. So, which adds a different layer of sort of complexity to the relationship. But, and being in that, what I'll call step dating relationship, it is very difficult too. And then, so as an observer, I'm sure you have things you've seen and things you've learned and things you can contribute. So, don't just ask the questions, jump on in.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Well, I want to do our shot here.
Cheers.
We'll do it to step parents.
Hell yeah.
Here, we got the muscle
Cheers.
vodka and the Juicyton. Here we go.
What's that? That's like the lime something or other.
Yeah.
We did this. I was kind of in the same situation you were, Tom, where Randall and I were dating for a long time, and we were dating for a few years before Griffin even started coming here.
Yeah, we even had a kid together.
No, you're going way out of order.
Come on, Randall. Stay in line.
We were dating for
Yes,
a while.
I'm agreeing with you.
Then Griffin started coming here.
Oh, yes, I'm talking about we had a kid before
you
you were an official step parent.
No. And then, we were still just dating, but it was like he was saying, like the step dating parent. You're not officially their step parent,
Agreed.
but I mean, and that was years where Griffin just started calling me his stepmom because it was. I think he even found it stupid to say that's my dad's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really kind of, I don't say set in stone before it becomes formal, but when that relationship between the we'll call the step parent to be and the parent, once that's serious, then that becomes essentially a step parenting relationship. So the formal title doesn't mean anything, and but you really build your relationships in those early years, and it really goes a long way to your relationship as well. It can really have a very positive or negative effect depending on how those years go.
Well, I'm already going off of my own script that I have written off, and I'm coming up with a brand new question because that just triggered one.
Go.
Okay.
So, how was it? What was it like for you guys when you're in a relationship with somebody? You know that they have children from a previous relationship. How long do you think it should be that the two of you are together before the kids are introduced to another possible parental role person? Like, is it okay to immediately introduce the kids to your new person, or should you wait till you know that this is really serious? That way you're not bringing people in and out of your kids' lives. What do y'all think?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think, and obviously I think it varies by situation. Everyone's, there's no one step parenting relationship or situation that is quite like another. It's almost like snowflakes. So I think it really goes on. And I think step parents, for me, sort of follow the lead of the parent. So for me, the answer is really when the person you're dating or the person you're getting serious with thinks it's the right time. And in most of the answers I'll have tonight kind of talk about that, really the kind of stepping back and being a half step behind, and deferring to the parenting style, the parent themselves. For us, it happened pretty quickly. Rachel was separated. She was actually living with her parents at the time, and McLaren was at her side the whole time. So even having any, we were long distance. So anytime Rachel and I talked, it was an event really around McLaren. So she knew about me right away, and then we moved pretty quickly. All things considered, we had different circumstances kind of come together that brought me out here a little quicker than we had planned. So for us, it was pretty quick, weeks really, and but everyone is different. Every situation is unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because it is very different than ours, because you were going into a relationship with the mother of the children, and so naturally they're going to always be with her, and so it was a little bit easier, I guess, to ease Griffin in. Because it was, I was dating the dad, and we lived in different states, and it was...
Yeah, we only have him every other weekend, so yeah.
Right, but even when you were, when we first started dating, Randal was still living in Alabama, so he was traveling back and forth, and it was not something that, even though him and his ex-wife were splitting up and everything, it wasn't something... He didn't have a place to live here, and it wasn't even though this was pretty much his house already, it was just a little bit different of a timeline. I mean, I think Randal would have immediately brought him here and introduced me if he could have. But it was just... But
there's always what I call marital politics involved too. It's not even simply the child and the, we'll call it, significant other before they become the step parent. There's another parent involved usually, and that's... Sure. That's a factor in the equation as well. And you're right. It's different if in most cases, if you're the mother and you have the children 10 out of 14 days, or, when the father has them every other weekend or every weekend, that's a much different equation. I think fathers get to sort of hide the significant other a little bit longer, or have that ability to do so more than mothers.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it really depends on so many different factors. But that's one basic factor, that the mothers generally have the children more.
Yeah, and you get into for me, I'm sure we all know people that have children, and you've seen them. The kids have been through, a parent or parents splitting up. And then those parents could date 4 or 5 different people. And when the kids are young, and I don't know, I've just always been worried about that. You don't want to introduce them to, have 5 different
revolving door
parents. And then just the stress of what that, I don't know what that would be like, but I would imagine it's tough to be like, every dad or stepmom I meet leaves, so you do want to make sure that you're good, and I knew we were, for sure.
It's reliant in many ways on the parent, and whether they are comfortable with the person, or whether they know what they want in a partner. A lot of times you don't want to introduce people that come and go like a revolving door, as you say. So for Rachel and I, it was, I think I think we all know that Rachel doesn't do things unless she's completely sure. So there was kind of a little risk in that for her and for me as well. We both knew what we wanted and we both knew what we had, so we were comfortable moving forward, and we were comfortable introducing me to the kids pretty quickly. And I talked to McLaren before I got out here on the phone several times, and so we had somewhat of a relationship. But yeah, you're right. If the parent is going to date for a while and not necessarily seriously, then that's a different equation. You don't want to introduce people that may or may not work out. You really need to wait until you generally find one that sticks, I would think.
Yeah, and so I was interested in both of your thoughts of what was it like for both of you the first time that you meet your, eventual stepkid. I mean, even though when you met him, you weren't official step parents yet. But were you nervous? Was it because I would imagine it would be nerving, right? Like I would be nervous.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Brooke, why don't you grab this one first?
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like mine was definitely different from yours as well. Like you had kind of a soft meeting, I guess, because you talked to her on the phone and stuff. It was a very like I'd never talked to Griffin on the phone or anything, and it was. I mean, I was a ball of nerves. Like before Randal got here with him, I mean, it was, he was a 7-year-old little boy. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to be, it's like I was anything to be scared of. He's an amazing kid, but I was so nervous that he was not going to like me. And he was going to be like, who is this lady with my dad? Like, and
breaking up my family.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, I didn't know what,
yeah,
I didn't know what, I mean, it turns out, his mom has done all the right things as far as like not said anything about us to him. All that's been great. So he came over here like completely, he looked a little nervous too when he got here. So that made me feel like, okay, we're both like,
yeah, this is good.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, yeah, I was so nervous. But when he got here, and then once we like, I think, what did we do right after he got here? He was excited to see John because John was actually a puppy. Randal had gotten, like, he named John, and he got John in Huntsville and had stayed there for like 4 days and then brought him here to me. So he was like, oh, John, like he hadn't seen this dog that he named in like so many years. So that helped break the ice. And then like, I think we played video games and.
Yeah, and we had his room ready for him. Like it was as good as could be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for me, it was I had a little of both because at the time McLaren was generally living with Rachel at Rachel's parents' house, and Mason for the most part was staying with his dad. Oh. So I got to know McLaren, like I said, by phone calls, and when I met her, it was actually her 9th birthday.
Oh.
And so I wasn't nervous about it. I knew we'd get along, and I knew the kind of kid she was already. So it was, it was perfectly fine. She gave me a hug first minute she met me, and she's not a kid who hugs, so I know that either someone told her to do that or she's naturally just a nice kid. Mason was, a little bit, I was a little bit nervous for that just because I didn't know what to expect, and I say this all the time, the success of step parents and people in a step parenting type relationship, the success of that relationship is often really up to the kids themselves.
Yeah.
If Mason was staying with his dad summer, he was 12 years old that summer, and he he's his dad. I don't want to take him away from his dad. I don't want to be his dad. I don't want to talk bad about his dad. I'm not there to fill that role. And he was a kid who both kids gave me a wide open chance. They didn't hold anything against me. I think they were happy that they could move out of their grandparents' house, or so I think they gave me a chance from day one, and that really kind of made all the difference for me. So Mason, it turned out to be fine with Mason. I was just a little bit more anxious about that one because I hadn't had that previous exposure for the most part.
Yeah.
But he was fine with it, and as boys are, if he was, he needed his own space, and I gave him the space, and then you just kind of progress as time goes along. But yeah, I was a little bit nervous, but I, like I said, I had talked to McLaren beforehand and was sort of ready to meet her when I did.
So it almost sounds like your situation with Mason was very similar to mine because Mason was living with the parent that's like the same role type as yours, so like, cause that's the same thing. I'm not, he has a mom, like, and he loves his mom, and that's a great relationship. I'm not here to try and be his mom, but yet still be a parental figure. But it's like that fine line.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect segue into this question I had. And this is just from me, and I know it's going to sound weird, and I don't want it to be, but so our step parents' parents. I have my own answer, but who cares? I want to know what you guys think.
Yeah.
They're parental figures. I don't really want to be a parent to either kid. I want to be a positive influence on them. I don't want to quite be their friend, but I want to be an ally for them. So I say the answer is no, because you're not their parent for sure, and you're not. I really don't think you're a parent, which seems a little bit weird, but
sure.
But I think it's such a different kind of relationship. You can have some parental, whether it's authority or influence, or you definitely have a parental role. But I think I think the last person to decide if a step person is a parent would be a step parent is a parent, would be the step parent, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense. Actually,
the kids, your partner, they sort of have to almost put you in that role, or you grow into that role. But by the time you grow into that role, I think children are either young adults or really kind of advanced teens. So I think the answer is no, only because I think that's such a unique relationship, and there are so many other elements to it. So I don't think it's anything like being a parent. Sometimes, I guess, in some situations, you do take on those roles and responsibilities. But for me, I don't think the answer could be yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking like, because you're a parental figure,
mm-hmm.
But yeah, for sure you're not. I mean, it's being the parent of Griffin's brother added a whole new layer into our relationship, because
of course,
yeah, I mean, it was more of just like a authority figure / like, I am like not his friend, but like not
in his corner.
Just like what Tom was saying. I think Tom put it great. But then when you had Gunner, it puts a whole nother, like, I would only imagine if I were Griffin and that happened, like, now there's a whole nother level of y'all's involvement.
Yeah,
or connect, because, that's his little brother. So now, damn it, I have to listen to Brooke even more now, because...
Yeah, I think the most important relationships kids have, obviously their relationships with their own parents are crucial, but I think every kid needs a good adult relationship outside of their mother and their father, or their parents. So I think if you can be that for them, you might grow into the parenting role. But I think any step parent who has an idea in their mind about what role they want to be, or whether they want to be the parent, you can't predefine your role, and you sort of have to be flexible in it. And if you do let the relationship become whatever it becomes, it may be parenting, it may not be, but you sort of have to let that sort of grow and evolve on its own, because there's, like I said, there's always different layers to it.
Well, so let me ask you this. That takes us to our first listener question.
Okay, cool.
And this is pretty funny. My stepkid calls me by my first name, and I think it's weird.
What?
Is it bad if I make them call me stepdad?
Yeah, that's weird.
Which one?
Calling him stepdad.
Okay.
It's weird. I think first name is natural. I think calling stepdad is weirder.
Yeah. That's super weird.
I wouldn't want them to call me, Mason once got me a mug that said "World's Greatest Stepdad," and even that made me a little uncomfortable. But I love the mug. It's my favorite mug. I would run in if there was a fire. I'd run in and save the mug. But he's never called me stepdad. So they call me Tom. Sometimes they call me names I can't say. Well, actually, I can say.
You absolutely can say whatever you like.
I get shithead sometimes, and they're great kids. But they just call me by my name, and that's fine. It's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Well, so did you lay that down? I'll put this to you, babe, because
Sure.
I kind of remember. But so when you meet Griffin or your new, going to be stepkid, should that conversation even be had, or should it just be like, whatever comes out of their mouth is fine?
Well, you introduced me and said, this is Brooke.
Yes.
And so there you go. I mean, we didn't even have the discussion beforehand because I didn't know there was that I just naturally assumed that he would call me by my first name because,
Well, that's where I'm going with this, because this listener obviously hates that they're calling him, Dave or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me, that he should be fine with him calling him Dave, because the way we just did the assumptive, he's going to call you Brooke, and he always has, and
right.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I think the listener, we'll call him Dave, using your example. I think Dave is probably looking for a little more intimacy in the name.
Must be,
I think he's looking for a little bit more than or formality in the relationship, perhaps. But God, I'm sounding like Rachel. But I think in most cases, like you said earlier, you date for a while before they become the step parent. So the first name is really the natural way to start anyway. Yeah. And then I think the step parenting relationship is so informal / dotted line that it's not a real formal title. I don't think it lends itself to, someone calling you stepdad or stepmom. So, I wonder why, the guy we're calling Dave does feel that way, because I feel the opposite way.
Yeah, and that's why I've always thought, and I've said it before, that the step parent is such a cool ass role if people embrace it correctly, because you can really be a hybrid of just a smorgasbord of things, that the biological parent can't be, and could be. There could be problems if they tried to be in that role. It's a very unique, a lot of opportunity, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's almost more like, and maybe it feels this way because Griffin is so close to my family that's here, but it feels almost like, and this is going to sound stupid, but like an aunt, but like
like an aunt role.
An aunt plus.
Yeah. No, and that's fine to say. There's no way to really define it. So.
Just because of the dynamic and the relationship, because it's still an authority figure, like a parental type figure, obviously, but you're not their actual mom or dad. So.
Well, so
yeah, the one thing I did when I got here, and it wasn't really about having the authority, but I made sure the kids knew that I was an extension of their mother. Mm-hmm. So if I told them something, then it was as if their mother was telling them that. So that they didn't try to, I don't want to say step all over me, but I just didn't really want them trying to get away with shit with me. Right. That can become awkward if you're the one who gives them everything and their parent doesn't give them anything, because that can hurt your relationship with your significant other.
Yeah, Randal did that here. He made it clear, that, I don't know when you had that discussion, but it was, and you and I talked about it too, like, hey, I'm going to back you up, you back me up.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I would think, I'm sure Rachel was the same way with Tom. Right. Where it's going to boil down to the parent and the step parent's relationship ultimately is what's going to make this step parent successful, or it could sabotage it if they're not on the same page.
They have to be on the same page. And as you guys obviously know from talking with Rachel so frequently, that Rachel's her number one priority for her children is their authenticity, and they get to be themselves, and that means they get to make their own mistakes, and they get a little bit more leash if they choose to take it. A lot of times when you give kids responsibility, they don't take as much leash as they do in other situations. So in my situation, that was a little bit, that's the way I'd like to think that I would parent. I don't have children of my own. So I would like to think that I would have more rules. I don't know how much more strict I would be, but you get in that situation where you have to follow their lead, and you have to be on the same page in terms of how they, you like I said, honor the way they raise their children, and really kind of take that half step back and support that, rather than try to do it your own way, or impose your own will or rules around whatever you would do. So it's an interesting situation, but you like you said, if you're communicating well and you have that same vision for the children and the same idea, then it works really well.
All right, so peep this situation. This is also a listener question.
Okay,
cool. I've always wondered this myself, just in my own head, but what would you do in the situation if your stepchild comes to you? And I think Tom may have more experience because his are older. We're kind of starting to get into that age now with Griffin.
Sure.
If they come to you and they confide in you, which I would imagine would feel great, they come to you with something, and that is a great role for the step parent. And they tell you something, they say, please don't tell my parents. So what's the line of where you will honor that? If at all, are you going to tell every single thing they tell you to the parent, or are you going to make a decision of like, you know what, that's so minuscule and I want to keep their trust, I won't say a thing? How would that work?
For me, I've actually had that situation. Mason told me something in confidence, and it specifically stated, it's the only thing he's ever said, don't tell mom, and nothing terrible. It's just something he wanted to talk to me about.
Yeah.
What he didn't kind of consider when having that conversation with me was just a problem he was working through.
Sure.
What he didn't consider in that situation was that he's had similar conversations with his mother about similar situations, and she's talked to me about those. So I sort of knew what advice she had given him about something similar.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of able to do both things, which was great. Was to, number one, keep his confidence, which I have, but number two, also know what Rachel would have thought or what Rachel had done in a similar situation. And so I gave him my own advice because that's what he looked for. But I also sort of knew how Rachel would feel about it. I wouldn't give up a secret if they asked you something in confidence. I think that's the worst thing a step parent can do, unless they're in trouble. If it deals with drugs or committing crimes
illegal
or things more serious things. I think if you lose their trust and their confidence, it's really hard to win it back. And when you make a mistake, I think you have to own up to it and apologize and explain it. But yeah, I've kept the confidence of Mason. And
now the cat's out of the bag, Tom. Rachel's going to be like, what the fuck?
Well, I'm sure she's like, you know what, I'm glad he did.
I know.
That's how I would feel. Because if they come to you and they're like, Tom, to be honest, I tried a cigarette tonight at this party, and it was disgusting, and I turned green, but please don't tell Mom, she'll kill me. I mean, I wouldn't tell either.
No.
I would be like, you know what, you learned your lesson, that's hilarious. Everyone tries it, so you're fine.
Absolutely. I Tom, I like to have sex with penguins. I actually don't know what I do with that, because that's kind of a little strange, but that certainly wasn't the situation.
Of course.
It was really, he needed some advice on something that he had asked his mother about previously, I think, in another situation. So, but yeah, I think if it was harmless to not give the specifics to his mother about that, and really goes a long way in building a relationship with him.
No, and that's got to feel good that he's coming to you with something like that.
Absolutely. It's really, when I got here, they were 12 and 9. And it's been an evolution. Step parenting is a very long game.
Oh yeah.
And the thing I always say to Rachel is that, even, when it was Ben, and the teenage years are rough. I mean, they're, all of their anger comes out. They're angry at everything, but a lot of times it comes out at you. And you just have to know that ahead of time and be able to have that thick skin to have it. So yeah, when they were, like I said, it's an evolution. It's a long game, and to do it right, you have to bite your tongue. You have to step away. You have to, not only be the adult, obviously, but sometimes be the bigger person in a situation, and know that it's gonna work out and it's gonna be worth it in the end.
Yeah, and not try and rush everything and force it either. Like that was kind of my biggest. Like how I approached this whole relationship was, I don't want to like try and force being too close or like best friends with him right away,
or
you
too
know,
far.
or too far. Yeah.
Yeah, because
they listen to everything you say and they watch everything you do, and if that meets with their approval, then you'll be fine. You know, no matter what you do, if you buy them, if you try too hard, if you give them too much space,
Right.
I think that all that matters less than what you do and what you say, and particularly if those things match, I think you'll be in fine shape. But you're right, you can't force it. You have to kind of, like I said, play the long game and work out. And it just works out if you take it that way, I think.
And I honestly think this might be the only one thing I can contribute, really, that where I feel the best about it, and I think would be the most important thing in our situation was that Griffin got to see how we treat each other, me and you.
Yeah.
And I almost felt like I could see, and it would be normal, I would imagine, for any kid.
Well, that's what killed
to
you
come
about the
in
end of your
with,
marriage.
with skeptical eyes, and they want to see how are these two together.
Right, because he was living in a house with you, with his parents that he loves, both of them, but you guys weren't getting along. Not that you were doing.
No,
But it's evident,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then to come into a house where, like, his parents are separate now, and then for each of them, because now his mom's in a good relationship. I mean, and it's, to have both your parents happy and like, oh, this is what it's.
Sure, it can put them in a much calmer, more comfortable space.
This is how they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, you teach by example, and most teenagers know that adults are full of shit. And if you show them you're not full of shit, they will respect you even more, and sometimes even more than a parent, because you're in this by choice. For me, the attitude was, I'm not just dating Rachel and not just moving in with Rachel. It's we're creating a familial unit here. I don't want to say they're part of the deal, because that sounds, like I didn't have a choice. I did have a choice, and I chose them. And the best I can do is show them how to be a good man, how to have a relationship, show them a good relationship with a woman. To say nothing of their father or any other adult, I can just show them what I,
totally,
who I am and how I live, and hope that I do it right, and I give them a good example, and that they do observe that, and they generally do. I mean, teenagers are more observant and smart than really anyone gives them credit for.
Oh, sure.
I'm just glad that we have Griffin as my stepson, selfishly, and as a teenager, because he's so chill.
Yeah.
He's like the most chill. I mean, he was bouncing off the walls bananas like Gunnar when he was younger, but like he's probably the most easygoing teenager I've ever met. However, if it was flipped and Gunnar was the stepchild, he's
a rascal,
full of piss and vinegar, and I could see him being way more of a handful as a teenager than Griffin is.
Oh, sure.
So I'm just very lucky that my stepson is just like.
Well, that's so true. But so, Tom, you can answer this one for this listener. Brooke can't, because she doesn't have two, and you do.
Okay.
This listener has two stepchildren, and they can't help but realize that they show favoritism to one over the other. Is that normal? How would you? I would assume that's kind of normal, but you wouldn't maybe put it out there. But
well, it's hard. I mean, it's a tough question. I think every kid thinks the other kid's the favorite, or another child is the favorite. For us, Mason says it of Rachel too, that McLaren's the favorite, and she's a wonderful child, and she's got such a great personality, and but the thing about her is that she asks for things. She asks for what she wants, and for Mason, like giving Mason things and giving him gifts isn't his nature. So, and it is for McLaren. So when he sees, McLaren getting gifts or McLaren getting attention, which is the things that she thrives on, it looks like she's the favorite. But that's also sort of her, what I'll call the love language of McLaren. That's the way she feels validated and loved. And for Mason, it's just something else. So, appearances always are always weird, and everyone's going to draw conclusions. I think, rather than having favorites, I think, you really love them in different ways, and it's really just like a parent. I don't think it's really any different.
Yeah.
You like certain things about one of them, and you don't like certain things about them as well.
Sure.
But I'm not sure. It's a tough question. I'm not doing well with it, but.
Well, I think like Rachel,
Go ahead, Brooke.
I think we had kind of a similar discussion with Rachel about like showing favorite, because it's the same discussion with parents of multiple kids. So like we could ask you, Randal, you know, like, 'cause you have 2 sons, but the way Rachel answered it was like, of course I don't have a favorite, but I have favorite activities that I like to do with one over the other. And like there's just
McLaren likes to do things, and Mason pretty much, I don't want to say keeps to himself, but he keeps himself more than she does. So I think we find ourselves just doing more things with McLaren on our own, and that looks like favoritism. But we're also treating Mason the way he wants to be treated. So like I said, appearances can indicate or not indicate whatever you want them to.
Yeah, and that's you flipping that on its ear to ask me. That's hilarious, and it's true. So I'm gonna take a shot at it.
Okay.
The way that I would put it, I don't think it's possible to have favorites if you have 2, whether it's stepkids or biological kids. But if they're different ages, you're at different places in your love for them and how you love them. So it can obviously look more if you're having to discipline one way more than the other one, but it's because they're still formative. Like with Gunner, I have to beat in his head, but he's 5. So he requires that.
So Griffin's your favorite, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. When Griffin was 5, he got the Thunderdome too when he needed it. But now that he's getting older, he doesn't require as much Thunderdoming.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking at this time and space, it would look that, but it's absolutely not to a parent. But you're doing an injustice if you don't give them, for that time and place, what's important when you're raising them. So it's going to the outside eye, which I wouldn't give a shit anyway what other people would think about it.
Yeah,
I know
true.
to me, I'd jump on a bomb for either one of them in the same amount of time. So
the question's a trap anyway, because no matter how you answer it, someone's going to take objection. You can't pick a favorite, but I think I think the way to answer that, or the way to measure that better is how did you treat them, or what was your relationship with them when they were both 5?
Exactly.
As opposed to right now, because kids need different things, and the kid who maybe the kid who has to run to soccer practice 6 times a week and has swimming practice 2 other days, maybe they're not your favorite because you have to do more things for them than the kid who's just kind of chill and sits on the couch doing nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it all depends, but I think it's probably better to kind of measure that against when they're at the same age, the same experience. And I do think that there are things about each of them you like better than you like in the other one. McLaren, I think, has a better sense of humor than Mason, so I love, kind of goofing with her a bunch. But there are things I like to do with Mason more than I like to do with McLaren. So it's just different things and different activities, and you just have to find what those are. But yeah, the favorite question's a trap because relationships don't really work like that. But yeah, like I said, I think you really kind of, the best way to measure that would be how you treat them at the same age.
Yeah, and I don't think you should, this listener should really concern herself with it. Like it sounds like it's bothering her, and I just don't think you should even, it's just more stress than needed.
Get it out of your head and
because
do your best with each of them for whatever activities and specific like connections you guys have, and don't try and focus on, is so-and-so going to think that this other, their brother or sister is my favorite? Like, it's just, you can't.
No, and there's nothing wrong with you if you have different activities that you prefer doing with one over the other. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think you just need to show them you love them, that you have their back, and that you're there for them anytime they need them. They need you. So ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
On June 12th, you think someone's your favorite over another one. That's small potatoes versus the big picture of whether you have their back.
And if you think they're not doing the exact same thing with parents, there's a parent that they want, that they enjoy this with more, and there's one, it's life. It's totally normal. So I'd tell her to not worry about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Now this one is a loaded question.
Another one.
My stepkids seem to intentionally, from time to time, take shots at me, and if I'm honest, it makes me not like them. All I've ever been is giving of my time, money, and love. I just don't get the hate. Have either of you ever had to deal with that, and how did you handle it? You kind of touched on it a little bit, Tom, that you said you had a...
Yeah, I think I said earlier that, whatever they're going through, particularly as teenagers, teenagers, I don't want to say hate everyone, but things that frustrate teenagers or things that make them mad oftentimes come down on the step parent, and because we're an easy target. Mm-hmm. We're not a parent, and there's really almost no risk in laying us out, not physically, but there's just no risk in venting the anger towards us because we're sort of like sponges. Sure, there were times that both children made me mad, and I was not as good at it in the beginning, just knowing that the anger was going to be directed at me a lot of times when I had nothing to do with what was going on. And it's just a sort of a hard lesson of being a step parent. And, as I've said so many times already tonight, that, they'll just, as they age, they'll understand, not necessarily what they've done, but they'll recognize that you took that anger and you didn't lash back out at them, and you let them sort of vent to you. And I think that's important.
That's huge.
Yeah, teenagers can be tough. I mean, I know I've seen my sisters go through it, and
they do come out the other side. Like, that's the good thing, though. When you see one that hits that little patch, but then they're out of it in a couple years, and they're just successful young adults.
And they can even look back and say, man, I was an asshole. Sorry about that.
So much fun, yeah. Mason came out of that before he left. He came out of that, and we have a tremendous relationship. Mostly, like I said, in the beginning, he gave me room to succeed, and as long as I loved his mother, he was fine with it. But like I said, that I got pushed back, and things that made him angry sometimes came down on me. But he, like you said, Randal, they come out the other end, and McLaren has done that. She's 17 now, 18 this summer, and senior in high school, and she's sort of come out of that teenage thing, and she's responsible, and we have a great relationship, and we talk more than we ever have. But so you have to know that should happen. It may not always happen as fast as you want it to,
sure.
But they'll be okay. Once they sort of get out of that teenager-ish, I don't want to call it a phase because that's a little bit demeaning, I think. But they'll come through it, and you'll all be better for you having taking a deep breath and taking a step back and bite your tongue when you wanted to say
and
something.
And not punched him in the throat.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, showing them, that's a prime way of demonstrating patience.
Yes.
And that could be a game changer for how they are as adults.
Yes, of course.
How you
I don't know how my parents didn't punch me in the throat.
No. I don't either. They've been clear about that they should have many times with you. But I was going to say to Tom, what's it like because both of your stepkids, to me, look just like Rachel. The genes are strong. They're both good-looking kids, but they look so much like Rachel. It's strange.
Yes, they do.
It is like clones.
It's a little strange. Obviously, for Mason, it's a different thing. But
yeah, he's a good-looking guy, though. He's
one
super
time
good-looking
recently
kid.
that McLaren was in the kitchen at the sink or at the stove or something, and I thought she was Rachel, and I was about 3 seconds away from coming up and slapping her ass.
Yep.
So so that can be a little bit difficult.
Oh no.
They do. But the thing McLaren says to me all the time is there's the three of them and then there's me, and she always complains that I'm bringing down their group average, which I am. I admit that. But
that's
Damn,
hilarious.
McLaren.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, they do. They look, and I think that and what's actually funny is I just saw the picture again today, in my time hop, that I think Mason last year, 2 years ago, Mason did one of those where he melded his face and my face into one picture.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was kind of weird because he could get away as being my son too.
Sure.
Like obviously, if you look at Rachel and McLaren, you'll never separate them. You'll know where McLaren came from, but I think I look more like Mason than his own father does. So
that's funny.
So that's a little interesting, but I have to sometimes make sure who's in the kitchen before I go slap their ass or, kiss their neck or something.
Yeah, it's a plus for Brooke though, because with Gunner, she knows exactly what Gunner is going to look like for the rest of his life.
Well,
Sure,
yeah.
Like you know exactly what he's going to look like at 40 if he
Right.
grows a beard. It's right here.
Oh,
'Cause he is every step of the way.
he looked.
Like I wonder when he's going to shift. And man, his looks wise,
Yeah.
but he couldn't be more your son and you, everything else.
Personality.
Except for
and
he's brute strong like me and a superior athlete.
What? You're saying I'm not?
No, but he's a top level athlete already at 5.
Motherfucker.
You're a medium level athlete, bro.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
I know.
Jesus.
But he is, so you know what he's going to look like. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, because Griffin looked like you when he was a baby, because all babies look like their dads.
And then he changed.
But like, how quickly did he start changing? He definitely still has some of your features. Like he has. There's when he first started coming here, like y'all's profile was like
Sure. He stands like me still.
his mannerisms for sure are like you, but I see some things, but he definitely looks more and more like his mom. But when did he
yes.
start? Like, I mean, was it just immediate?
No, it was
Like when he was like 3 or 4?
it was probably 3 or 4.
I'm thinking of pictures of him. I think
Yeah,
that's
he
probably
kind
when-
of shifted. He's like, woo, yeah, he's turning into his, but he's still a super handsome young man, and I love that.
Yeah.
It works out perfect. Similar to Mason. Even though Mason looks like Ray, he's a super handsome young man.
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, I look like my dad.
Yeah. Well, your dad's a handsome lady, or he's a good-looking lady. He's produced pretty girls.
Yeah. Lots of 'em.
And that's all he's made is girls. He had 5 girls. All right. Well, this is the last one I wanted to ask you guys, and this one just intrigued me. How would you handle, and I don't know if either of you have had to deal with this, but if you have a stepchild brought into the family and you're introducing them to their new side of the family, grandparents, aunts, all that, and how grandparents are, they want to hug, kiss, come here, and, it comes from a place of love, but if that, to a child, they may not be ready for that yet. So how would you handle if the kid is a little apprehensive, or should you pre-talk to your family?
Griffin's
and be like,
not a big hugger, but we all force him to.
well, yeah, but I've always been one that's, if he was showing like, I don't want to hug,
Yeah.
then I would hope people would just respect that and not,
Yeah.
or kisses, they should have a choice on that. I don't want it forced down
Right.
their throats.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think?
actually had that situation, and it turned out it was fine. Like I said, McLaren is not a big hugger. She likes her own space, and she'll hug you if she wants to hug you, but she doesn't like a surprise hug.
Yeah. Sure.
So we stopped at my Aunt Ginny's house one day, and my Aunt Ginny is maybe the nicest person alive, and she's a hugger. And the first thing she did was with McLaren. This was when she was 10 years old, maybe.
Sure.
She went and hugged her, and for her it was a sign of welcome to my home. It was a genuine hug, and McLaren did it because she's a polite kid. So it worked out fine. I mean, she loves Aunt Ginny and Uncle George now, really from that minute. But yeah, I would sort of, it's sort of hard sometimes in that situation to kind of telegraph that maybe the kid's not a hugger, or don't hug too long, or it's a strange situation, because sometimes you don't get the chance to warn somebody or
Sure.
really just hope they read the signs and signals from the kid. But I wouldn't make the kid go and hug somebody, and I'm not a fan. You must say goodbye, and you must say hello, and you must hug, and you must send a thank you note. I'm not really into that, mostly because my parents made me do it. But yeah, you just kind of, if they do get the hug, then you just hope the kid just takes it with a grain of salt and doesn't really hold it against them.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't, and it's funny because it's also from my childhood. Like, I think we were all raised in that time where, you were going to hug Aunt Sue, Uncle Bill, Grandma, great grandma. And
you can't leave until you say goodbye to everybody.
Kisses for everybody.
Kisses from all the smoking.
Well, that's where your problem lies, right there, baby. Is that your relatives all smoke cigarettes
by the thousands,
and they would come hotbox your personal space.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It has traumatized me, and I talk about it ad nauseum about how it's made me about smoking. But man, I remember it clear as day, like having to hug these people, and the hug, I'd be like, okay, I can side hug, and I love them, they're family,
right?
But then when you gotta like kiss them on the cheek, and they just finished their pack of non-camel or non-filtered Camels, and it's terrible. It traumatizes.
And if you're a kid, like old people smell funny.
They do. God, they do.
They just do. I mean, you go to grandma's house and you're like, why does it smell like mothballs?
Yeah, it's so
Everything
bad.
smells like mothballs.
Everything smells like mothballs.
And you just, so you go in, whether it's cigarettes or Bengay or whatever, just as a child. And I think kids are more sensitive to smell than anything else, new smells. So that you add that to it, whether it's cigarettes or anything else. And it's an awkward thing because kids aren't always, they don't want to hug people they don't know. Strangers are weird.
It's so funny, though. I remember, I don't know if it was, I think it was Griffin. One time when my mom came and saw him when he was like 2 or 3. And, my mom smokes like a fucking champion. And she like hugged him or something one time. And he was like, why does Mama smell like fire?
Oh.
I was like,
yeah, there is that. And now fewer people smoke, so it probably smells even worse to kids.
It's just crazy.
And he's just being on. He's like, what's wrong? Is something on
Why's
fire?
She burning?
Yeah. Mama, what's on fire? Oh.
Yeah, it's terrible. Oh, that was a strange one.
Yeah.
But it definitely ruined my life as a child.
You have issues.
It is responsible for my overusing of cologne to this day.
And your overuse of car air fresheners.
It fucks with you. It really fucks with you. Tom, it's I have like 1,000, the Christmas tree air fresheners that everybody puts around their rear view mirrors.
Yeah.
I add to them, but I never take them off. So like my cars have always had there'll be 100. By the time I trade the car in, and I'm obsessive about it smelling good, but people will be in and be like, dude, what the fuck, man? And it's just vanilla aroma,
Black ice.
or black ice.
Yeah.
Those are the two that I use. But
And when they run out, there's no scent left on it, and you can get rid of it.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you take them down, or is it like?
It's a superstition
thing.
Like,
what's the deal with not taking them off the rearview mirror?
I don't know if it was.
I think it's superstitious.
If it's just become superstitious now, like it's just become one of my little OCD things.
Okay.
And then everybody got it became a running joke. So then I dig in more. Like now I love all 100 of them. So I'm never gonna take them.
Rachel's got some kind of diagnosis.
Yeah, there's something. Sure. I mean, believe me, I don't shy away from the fact that some of my shit is damn ridiculous, and there's no good. But the only thing you can do is own it.
Yep.
And it's consistent. Yep. People know it, and they're used to it by now. That have.
Oh yeah, it does. I don't even think about it anymore. It's just funny when you bring it up. I'm like, God damn, yes, you have 87 trees hanging from your rearview mirror now that you've had that truck for 5 years.
Yeah. By the time I
do you change them like on the first of every month so that you know like how long you've been doing it, or
no? Every time
just when they need the smell boost.
Well, I do them every time I wash my truck, and
okay.
I'm pretty obsessive about the truck being clean. So there can be times where it is a little strong.
Yeah, I'll get in the truck. I'm like, my eyes are watering, babe.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
So what you're saying is the most recent one may not even be done yet.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so you might be adding smell to smell to smell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they're the same. I'm not going to mix like a vanilla aroma with a black ice.
That would
that's
just
new.
be fucking.
No, who would do that?
ridiculous.
That would just be silly.
Yeah,
I know, right?
What kind of person would do that?
Yeah, and there's not going to be a rogue like watermelon in the middle of my all yellow or black air fresheners. It's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, sure.
Not going to be
Unless you're a
fuckery.
friend of Randal's and you can go put a watermelon air freshener in his truck now.
I'm going to take one of my cotton candies out of my car and put it in your...
What's great about it, though, is
Now people are going to screw it up. They're going to fuck with you on purpose now.
when we had Shane on and he confirmed about my car in college, he was like, all the fucking vanilla aromas.
He's like 70 vanilla aromas.
Yep, in my car all the way back in college. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
I can't stand vanilla. Like,
For sure.
Like, most of those things are too artificial for me anyway. But vanilla aroma sounds disgusting. It makes me kind of want to vomit.
They're strong. I love the smell of vanilla, and I'm weird. I like vanilla and coconut. Not coconut.
Yeah,
it is coconut.
Yeah.
What's the lotion?
Yeah.
Coconut?
Yeah.
Oh, cocoa butter.
Cocoa butter. I love those.
Yeah, well, and the perfume you got me for Christmas is like vanilla.
Yeah, it's definitely got a strong vanilla smell to
Yeah.
it. It smells glorious. But yeah, it's no problem that Tom doesn't, because there's some smells that other people like that I'm like, dude, that makes me want to throw up. And I can't handle it.
Parmesan cheese if you're not eating it. If someone puts Parmesan on like pasta.
Brussels sprouts.
It smells like feet. Oh, and Brussels sprouts. So many things that I love. Like Brussels sprouts smell like farts.
Pure farts.
Pure farts.
Yeah, they sure do.
And I fucking love them. But like when I heat them up at work for like leftovers and I'm like, sorry guys, it's the Brussels sprouts. I promise.
It's about as bad as...
Sorry. Yeah, it's not fish. I'm not a monster.
Yeah, well, Tom, before we go, I wanted to bring something up to ask you that's totally separate than the step parenting, and this was awesome. I appreciate you talking with us about that. But I want to talk about, are you still doing the improv stuff?
Yeah, so what I did was I took 5 different levels of improv at Second City last year. It was 4 courses. One of them ended up being combined 2 levels, 4 8-week courses of improv. So I graduated from their beginner improv program. And then I took a stand-up class that ended just before Christmas. The new term actually starts next week, and I'm not taking anything right now just because I have a lot of business travel in the first part of the year, so I don't want to miss too many classes. But I'll probably take either some writing courses. For example, The Onion has 4 or 5 levels of writing courses at Second City.
Oh, cool.
So I might do that because that's kind of fun. I've always had that like fake news, satire news kind of writing voice. And I might, there's still another level of stand-up I haven't done. So I want to do some open mics around Indiana and Chicago first before I really want to know what I need to work on when I take another level of stand-up. So I'll do that at some point, but probably not till we move to Chicago, which we're planning on doing in August or September this year.
Oh, that's glorious. So 2 things on that. For one, Second City is legendary.
Of course, yeah.
Like the powerhouses that have come out of that fucking place. Isn't Farley have come out of there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Like, there are dozens of people who've come out of Second
Tina
City.
Fey,
Bill Murray?
Yeah.
Bill Murray, Bob Odenkirk.
Yes.
I'm actually going to. Bob Odenkirk's coming back to town this week he's giving a 1-day improv workshop, and then he's doing a Q&A the next day. So I couldn't get into the improv workshop. But there was I got a ticket to the Q&A session with him on Saturday afternoon. So sometimes they come back to Second City, but everybody, Tina Fey's been through.
Yeah, Molly Shannon, I think.
So many people have gone through Second City. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, so how was that? Have you done an official, because I thought I saw a picture of you. You have done a stand-up set now, right?
Yeah, at the end of my class, there was essentially a graduation show. At the end of your class, you all do a show at Second City. So yeah, I did a 5-minute set. We all did a 5-minute set in they've got 4 or 5 different theaters. So yeah, I did it, which is cool to do your first one at the Second City.
Yeah.
And then we all have everyone in the class sort of exchanges information about where the open mics are. So I haven't done anything outside of Second City yet, mostly because I'm an hour from Chicago, and it just isn't really convenient for my schedule to be up in Chicago every night. Mm-hmm. But there's actually a bar here in Indiana that has a comedy night, and the guy who runs it is the guy who runs shows in Chicago. So I might have the luxury of doing it 5 minutes from home for a while.
Sweet.
Nice.
So I'm trying to set that up. But again, like I said, business travel is the next couple of weeks. I don't think I can get going until 3 weeks from now. But yeah, so I'm going to look for some open mics and try to do some stand up in between. But once I really get into Chicago, then it'll be a lot easier for me to work on that, just as a hobby, really. Just to have a little bit of fun with it.
Well, how
So
terrifying was that? Your first
It was
time?
actually, when I started the improv class, the two of my classmates said they had graduated or had taken the stand-up classes, and they were doing stand-up. And at the time when I started the improv, that kind of frightened me. I'm like, I said, more power to you, because I couldn't do that.
Sure.
Like, that would scare me. But when I did the improv, I found, having done both, now I found that improv gave me a little bit more anxiety because it's just it's on the fly. Like, you have to be thinking quickly.
Sure.
And with stand-up, it's you. It's your material. It's, obviously you have to remember your material, but it's the way you deliver it. It's the pauses you take.
Yeah.
You sort of control the whole
Preparation.
thing. So for me, that made me less nervous. So
Makes
I
sense.
think I liked the stand-up a little bit better, but the one time I did it, it went well. So that's why I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There are going to be times I bomb and it's not going to be nearly as fun, but I liked it. I think I did like it better than improv.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Damn.
But we went to, what's interesting is when we were in Charleston last week, we went to an improv show on Friday night, and I was like, okay, well, how good is this going to be? And I don't know where the people in the troupe learned improv, but they've been doing it for a long time. We read up on them afterwards. It was really funny. Like, I was initially kind of skeptical, but after I watched them, I'm like, they're really good. I'm not sure I could play with them.
Yeah.
And I've graduated Second City. I got all like hoity-toity about it. But they were really great. And when we go down to Charleston again, we'll definitely stop in for sure.
Yeah, we went last night in Woodstock, Georgia, to a little competition, a comedy competition, just $10 a ticket, and you listened to 4 comedians and voted for who was the best, and they were from around here. They're, furthest away was McDonough. Mm-hmm. So they're from right here. And 3 of the 4 of them, to me, were as good as anything on TV.
Oh, yeah, we were done. I mean,
They were fucking incredible. And
yeah.
So the
It was
talent
awesome.
is everywhere. It's not just your big
there is
guys.
talent everywhere. And if I think the secret to whether it's improv or stand up or any sort of entertainment, plays or musicals, I think it's your comfort on stage, can make you successful. Like, I was very comfortable in my stand up set and it went really well. So yeah, there's talent everywhere. And like you said, that sometimes in your local club, you get an open mic that's funnier than something you find on Netflix.
Yeah.
That shit was awesome. We had a great time.
Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear about you going back, though, and getting some more.
Hell no. I want to hear.
Yeah,
I want you
I'm
to
looking
keep
forward
working on
to
it.
doing a little bit more stand up and seeing just sort of how much I want to continue to do it. But I'm a writer by nature, so stand up is the performing part. I had to sort of psych myself into, but the writing was what I'm comfortable with. So we'll see. Whatever I can do on the side to make people laugh, I think will be fun. So
Awesome.
and it'll keep me busy and out of trouble, which is important.
Yeah, it's very. He has a very similar route as Amy Lyle.
Yeah.
Amy's done stand up.
Yeah.
She's a writer. I don't know if you heard about. She's been on our show a couple times. She's in Atlanta.
Sure.
She just sold her screenplay that's being made. But
And she's had 2 books come
yeah,
out.
she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's a lot.
Oh,
she
very
reminds me
cool.
a lot of Tina Fey. Actually, she looks like her.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. All right,
Yeah, I always
Tom.
say if you can write and if you're funny, there could be possibilities for you.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah, I'm doing it just because it's fun, and who knows what the future brings. But I just, like I said, I'm doing it because it's fun for me and something to do. So, but it's everyone. I think everyone should take an improv class. Rachel won't do it. I'm trying to talk her into it, but she won't do it.
Sounds
but yeah,
terrifying.
improv is great. It kind of resets your mind a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is. Like, I to actually, like, make that first leap to do it, it's terrifying.
No, I applaud it. The nads it takes
Oh, yeah,
to get
for
up there.
sure. Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Well, all right, Tom. Well, we're gonna run, brother. We appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
And I'll get you that fantasy info so next year we're having you on the league.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. I'd love to be in the league and show you guys how to win.
There you go, brother. Well, all right, man. Absolutely. We'll give our love to the powerful Rachel Miller. And
I will do that. Take care, guys.
Yeah, we'll holler at you, buddy.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.